Well, thank you very much, Steve. Moving on with the program, I'd like to welcome Henk van Alphen to the stage from Wealth Minerals, please.
My name is Henk van Alphen, as the gentleman announced already, and I'm the CEO of Wealth Minerals. We are a lithium company in Chile, and of course Chile has been in the news quite a bit lately, so we'll probably have to deal with what came out of the news in Chile in the last little bit. I guess this won't waste too much time on the forward-looking statements here. So Wealth has been in Chile for the last 6 or 7 years, and when I first went there, it was in 2015, 2016. They promised that they were going to change the regulations on lithium in Chile, which is a strategic component. So thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Since I've been there, that nothing has changed, but obviously in the last 2 weeks, Chile has been in the news, and the government has actually finally come out with regulations that can actually move our project forward, or our projects forward. One of the reasons why two reasons, I'll joke a little bit, why I've been staying in Chile during all this time, and we haven't really moved very, very far forward, is we have a piece of the Atacama salar, and that turns out to be the best place in the world for lithium. And this is our flagship project, so one doesn't ever want to walk away from that. So we just had to stay in Chile and see this going through. The other thing is, of course, I'm a Dutch Calvinist and I like pain and suffering, so that was another good reason for staying there. So, the Ollagüe project is a smaller project, but it's the one that actually we have managed to move forward recently faster than the Atacama. But Atacama is really why we really stayed in Chile. And funny enough, we are an exploration company. And we found a VMS deposit in British Columbia, which looks like it has size, potential, and it's a nickel, cobalt, copper situation. So we're going to have a fairly aggressive drill program there this spring, and then hopefully we'll, come up. It's grade dependent, let's say. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but many major mining companies in the world have actually started with one of those kind of projects. So they're very important in the mining industry, and I'm very happy that we actually found one in BC. But we are mainly a lithium-focused company for the time being. Here's the shares outstanding. I won't spend too much time on it, but we trade large volumes every day. So it's a good company to get in and out of. So it's not like you're biased and you're stuck. We have been a little bit under pressure in terms of pricing, twofold. The news out of Chile was not well received by the media, the world media, even though I will deal with that in a minute. And then also because of this project here, actually in Canada you can raise what you call flow-through money, and I raised some flow-through money for the Kootenay project, and unfortunately the persons that took the flow-through money have been offloading their position, unfortunately. So that's been a little bit of pressure on our share price, which would be the opportunity to get in right away. Sure. Yes, thanks. Here we are. This is, the reason why we're really well connected in Chile is thanks to this gentleman over here, Marcelo Awad. He used to be the CEO of Antofagasta Minerals, which is one of the largest copper producers in Chile. So we're being perceived as a very important company by virtue of having him sort of as the executive director in Chile. Luckily, we have a guy called Stephen Foote there. He's a hydrogeologist, and he's been very, very useful to us. And he's basically been really leading the charge in terms of what we do in exploration or where we need to go. Stefan Schaus is here. I don't know if he's actually here, but he's the guy. He's one of the directors, and he's also dealing with the DLE part of what we have to do, because in Chile you have to use direct lithium extraction in order to put a new project into production, and he's the one that's leading the charge. We have done a deal with FL Schmidt, Danish company, to sort of pick out whatever, go through the whole motions of DLE technologies and then pick one that we will actually end up doing. Stefan is here, and I don't know, maybe he's not here. But anyway, there were DLE questions afterwards. He would be the guy that we should talk to. I don't want to talk about the lithium too much in the future, but there is always, when you talk to lithium offtake people, let's say car companies or battery companies, 2017, 2018 is a really important year where there's going to be an acute shortage of lithium developing in those years. Most people are pretty good till 2016, 2017, but after that it's going to become a little bit harsh to find lithium, and that's sort of also the time that we fit into, let's say. Seen all the lithium things. So what came, the new policy that came out, so the strategic problem with lithium a little bit is that the only really way to get around this strategic part is this ownership 5149. And we've been in Chile for, let's say, 6 years or something. It always was the elephant in the room that nobody dealt with, yeah? And I said, okay, let's just suck it up. If you look at Lithium Americas, for instance, they own 49% of their project in Argentina, and their market cap is like $3-4 billion. So it's not hurting anybody in that sense. So I said, we gotta, like, owning 100% of something you can't move forward with is nonsense. Let's just try to make a deal, and then this new government obviously has come up with the new regulations. So from a perspective from wealth, I think it's actually, you hate up giving 51% of your project, but it is at least a way forward for us. And so I'm very happy that this government actually finally came to some sort of conclusions to move lithium forward, and we're going to be the beneficiaries of that. And then on top of that is the 5149, and on top of that you will have an operating company. So there will be some more benefits to the private sector, because their new regulations were not well received in the international markets. So they will actually have to start accommodating a little bit in terms of the 5149. So I think we're in fairly good shape to go forward. We also have done a lot of work with the indigenous populations around our projects. So that is part of the process we have to go through. So we've done a very good job putting all these things together. So I think wealth will, in the near future here, will benefit tremendously from this new policy that they came up with, even though the international markets didn't like it. I know why, because it's SQM and Albemarle are obviously the focus of the market in Chile, and they have to sort of go back to renegotiate with Codelco, which I didn't see coming either, and I'm sure people are somewhat negative on that part, but that doesn't affect Wealth Minerals, let's say. So the two projects, this is what they are. This is our Atacama project. Let me see if I get some more pictures. Yeah. So what happened here is SQM actually drilled a hole here. SQM was forced to do some extra work in the Atacama Salar because they had been over pumping. So the government forced them to do some exploration work or some understanding of the salar. And luckily for us, that included going into our claim block. So they had some geophysics line going into our claim blocks, and also they drilled a hole sort of around here, let's say, which came up with about 1,250 milligrams per liter. And so if you take that blob, we have on our website, we have a 3D image now of the Atacama Salar. And the blob is 370 cubic kilometers big. So if you say 10% recovery, that you're talking about 37 cubic kilometers of recovery. So this could be one of the largest, if not the largest, lithium deposit in the world. So we're finally dealing with the Atacama indigenous communities. So we hopefully will be drilling there fairly soon. And I can't say that's tomorrow or next month, but I think we will be drilling there reasonably soon. Then, this is of course when you promote in the United States, then you show how big that is. Our project relative to Manhattan, 7.8 times Manhattan, so I'm sure everybody's been there. And the other project is Oyagwe. We've done some drilling there. We have about 1.4 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent there. So it's a project that will be coming out with a PEA, let's say, in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on FL Schmid's picking and choosing of the DLE technology. And there will be sort of 20,000 tons of lithium carbonate for 20-25 years. That's sort of what the PEA will sort of look like that. So that will happen in the next, let's say, 2 months. So there's the maiden resource that we came up with. It's actually an interesting, it's very porous, and it's also warm brine. So if you're going into a direct lithium extraction technology, warm brines are really much better than cold brines, let's say, and this is on an average about 30-35 degrees in warmth, and that will help with the direct lithium extraction technology quite a bit. We got no solar evaporation, obviously, which is part of the new guidelines. We've done this fantastic community relations stuff, and it's ongoing. We have a very good group of people that are working here. Here's some geophysics on the Oyagwe. I don't want to. And actually, then this is the end of the presentation. So how do I do? Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Thank you, Henk.
I have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I've got a few minutes for questions. And if I might start off, we've had a couple of lithium presentations this morning. Obviously, both of you have addressed in some way the changes that the government wants to put in. Boric did use the word nationalisation, so and he does want any new development to have a public-private partnership. That invitation isn't really an invitation, isn't it? It's not necessarily voluntary. It's something you really have to do. Yeah,
you do. Now, there is, so the Atacama Salar, they've concluded that that's a strategic place for obvious reasons. I mean, SQM is going to be producing over 200,000 tons of lithium, Albemarle is up to 150, let's say. So 350, on our piece, we probably have the opportunity for 200,000 tons. So by virtue of that, there's 550,000 tons of lithium carbonate coming out of one place. That's strategic for anybody, yeah? So, but it's not entirely obvious that they're going to force it on every salar. That is also in his public announcements.
One thing that's there's a lot of uncertainty about how this will be implemented, and what. If you do have a partnership with the state, what that means. Will the state be putting in money, or are they basically a sleeping partner? Or?
Well, let me guarantee you one thing. They won't be putting in any money. And I don't know if they're falling asleep either, but they won't be putting in any money. So that will be it. And then, but it's still fairly nebulous as to where it goes. So we have an MOU with Codelco and Enami, but the government is going to ultimately decide as to who is going with who, yeah, because they're government-owned corporations. So we don't really actually know, but let's see. The Atacama will be Codelco, because that's already announced that they want Codelco to be in the Atacama Salar for all the reasons that I just mentioned.
Okay, let me just interrupt you there. Now, you've got Codelco involved, which is Chile's state copper company, but Chile's also in the process of forming a state lithium company. So will Codelco later transfer into that, or?
I doubt that very much, because if they're making boatloads of money on lithium, they're going to be very reluctant to transfer that. But it's a government's, the power struggle that's going to come up. Because now, from where I sit, I see that suddenly the Enami president comes out and says, "Oh, I'm almost finished with the MOU with Wealth Minerals." Well, so he doesn't like Codelco to be. Yeah. So he doesn't want. So there is already competition between those two companies. The lithium, the national lithium company, I think that they don't even believe that that's going to happen anytime soon. That's why it's Codelco and Anami. That's so far in the future. I think that's just politics. That's just promising. That's just making. That's what I think it is.
Okay, well, thank you for those additional comments. A lot to talk about, so I recommend you take meetings with both the companies we've had on this morning and really sort of dig into this and ask your questions. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Henk.
thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
And we're now breaking for coffee. We'll be back here at 11:15 with Barksdale Resources. Thank you very much, everybody.